everybody, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. I am your host, Lemerck, and today we have a very special and somewhat unexpected match to show you. Now, previously, I'm sure many of you came here to witness one of the most important battles of the week, NSL Game 18, Royal Black Fleet versus the Krakrns. Unfortunately, today there have been some issues that are going to get in the way of this match being held, and in its place, we're going to be holding a special exhibition match between the same two teams, but for completely different reasons. I want to introduce, before we get into the depths of what we're doing today, my co-hosts, who are Warbleworth and Sabo Jesus. Gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast on this very strange, but hopefully very exciting day of NSL history. Um,
That's
let's
something, eh?
yeah, it's gonna be a pretty nuts experiment today. So let's get into what's happening and why we are not having our regularly scheduled event. Um, I'll pass it off first to Warbleworth to kind of explain a little bit about what's at issue, and then we'll talk about what we're doing. And you can pass it back to me, and I'll kind of explain what it is that we're actually doing instead. So what's the problem today, Warble?
Well, I think like a very short time ago, this past week at some point, we got a new Holdfast update. So AGS pushed a new update, which introduced a bunch of fun stuff, like what's it called, shillings, like an in-game currency,
Hmm.
and all kinds of things. But they also introduced some changes to the spawn menu and stuff like that. And this has produced some trouble for naval gameplay in particular, but I believe it also happens on land sometimes where you, in some circumstances, can't properly respawn and have to completely close your game and everything. And this apparently particularly happens in naval when your ship goes down and you get killed and you try to respawn on a different ship, then it oftentimes doesn't let you and you completely have to close game. You lose all your score and all of that. And that, of course, is bad for the NSL, where people are really fighting for their score, for total points for their team. And of course, it just takes people out of the fight for minutes at a time, which we can't really have during one of the final matches of this preseason, especially as this match would potentially decide if the Kraken came first overall in this preseason or not. Um, and of course, for the Royal Black Fleet, it would also be an important match, which could quite severely change their standing to potentially still coming in the third in the league. So, yeah, that's why we can't have it. And so, Mark, what are we going to do instead today?
All right. So, as you all know, the NSL preseason is coming to a close. This is, I think, the third to last match in the preseason. After which time we'll be taking a 2 or 3 month break to for the holidays first off, and to set up the what is going to be the official season one, the first official full year season. Uh, in that season, a lot of the regiments have come back to me with feedback about how they want to see the league change to fit the needs of their teams, their preferences, and other factors. There are a lot of things that we all have to discuss as a league to make sure that we have great buy-in and a great experience for everybody in season one. And so today we're going to be trying one of many different options for what next year's league may look like. Um, Today's match is going to have the following changes. First of all, there's going to be no 13 gun. Instead, there will be 4 8 guns as the main ships of the fleet. The same rules will apply to these 8 guns as applied to the 13 and 8 guns, which is to say those 8 guns are going to be the capital ships, and their survival or destruction is going to swing the game in one team's favor or the other.
So
However,
there's
what we're
no capital chip rule where
there is
a 13 gun counts more than an 8 gun.
exactly. So it's just how many 8 guns you have left, and if it's a tie, we'll go to points basically to see who wins. Um, what what we will have instead to replace the 13 gun as the sort of interesting ship to watch, um, we will be having a 2 gun. A 2 gun is a very controversial ship in naval holdfast. It has more range than any ship by a mile, but it is in every way the definition of a glass cannon, and it will be today as well. The 2 gun is going to operate under gunboat rules, which is to say that it will be able to sit and spawn untouched until it is activated, and once it's activated, it can be targeted. It also occupies a gunboat rocket boat slot, which is to say if somebody takes out a gunboat and a rocket boat, they can't take out the 2 gun. If they take out the 2 gun, they can only take either a gunboat or a rocket boat to go along with it. So it is in every way just a super gunboat. It does not count for the final score. If you sink that two gun, it doesn't matter, just like it doesn't matter if you sink the gunboats or the rocket boats. It is instead just there to cause damage and chaos and to create another dimension to the tactics of the battle today. Today's battle is not going to count for the NSL. The scores are not going to be kept. The whoever wins or loses doesn't matter for the overall preseason. This is just a test, and we want to see how the two gun performs in battle, whether it is in any way decisive or impactful, and what the crews think about having it as an option. We also want to see what happens when you take the 13 gun out. I think what we've noticed, and I want to hear from Sabo on this, what your opinion is on the 13 gun, because I know everybody's got their own opinion on whether we keep or lose the 13 gun. But it seems to me that the 13 gun is almost too important in the NSL. The fleets must stay with it because to lose it means that you lose the match. But to keep it means that you have to protect it with most of your ships. So it kind of, in my opinion only, it stops the crews from getting too aggressive, especially from like closing in on each other and maybe doing more boarding actions like we'd like to see. I think that with this removed, the 8 guns are going to have the opportunity to be much more aggressive, and I wonder if we're going to see that today. But Sabo, what do you think some of these changes are going to do? Do you look on them? I know I haven't gotten your feel on what you think about the 2 gun, and just taking out that 13 gun. It definitely makes it so that there's fewer needed crew, so we can have a little bit less reliance on the mercenaries, which I know a lot of teams are interested in having more of their crew as the focus of who gets the win and defeat. So I know that might be a factor too. But what do you think about all this?
Well, it's definitely an interesting change when it was proposed to me. Because I always saw the 13 as that dual-edged sword. It is the important ship, but it's also the one that did all the damage. So it's all a case of how do you use your 13? Do you be more defensive or do you be risky and aggressive with it? Is how I saw the 13, is how do you use it? I tried one point using it as a meat shield to let the 8 guns deal with all the stuff. Backfired on me, but it's one of those ships where you've got to try and use it in different ways. Now, the 2 gun is, as you're aware, is one of my favorite ships to use. I am very intrigued how it's going to work in the NSL, though, as I know exactly how powerful they can be and how easy they can sink other ships fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think, and so let's talk about the ship HPs because that's going to also impact a 2 gun in the way it's in sort of hold fast naval vanilla with its regular ship HPs as AGS made them. It is by far, I'd say, the strongest ship. It is probably stronger than even the 50 gun, which is the huge ship, like because of its ability to range, and then it can just keep running away from opponents and shooting behind it at that range that no other ship can meet. The differences I think that today that may make it a little bit more balanced are, first off, we're going to be taking the 8 gun ship HP and we're going to be cranking up the ship HP on the 8 guns to be kind of a little bit closer to what the 13 gun ship HP is, which is a ton of ship HP. Um, the 2 gun is going to have vanilla ship HP, so it will be in every way the glassiest of glass cannons. I think any 8 gun that decides to just pay attention to a 2 gun for long enough, um, I think it could probably take out a 2 gun unless the 2 gun could just wipe its cannons out. That's the danger. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, because it is a very dangerous ship because it's very accurate cannons,
Mhm.
800-meter range, so you are looking at more than double the range of an 8 gun nearly.
Absolutely.
No, not quite.
Oh, but
Eight gun
nearly,
has
nearly.
450.
Depending
Yeah,
on who's shooting, it's
yeah.
more than double the range.
It
So
really
it is
can
a
get up to like
very
850.
dangerous
It's
beast, the 2 gun. But it all depends on when they want to use it. As you said, they can use it whenever they wish. Start of the
yeah,
round, mid of the round, or end of the round.
that's
So
where
I'm
it can be so
intrigued
dangerous.
as to I'm intrigued as to how they're going to use it and when they deploy it. It'll be
Yeah,
great first start, but what if you leave it till last?
I see.
Everyone's away from the spawn potentially.
I agree. I think the thing that's going to be the most dangerous to a 2 gun is an ambush attack from gunboats, right? So because it's got low ship HP, if it doesn't immediately take out any gunboats that are sailing towards it, like in an open ocean, it will see those gunboats coming from a mile away, and it will probably be able to handle them. But because
Yeah, because it takes like one shot.
yeah, it can only be escorted by a single other gunboat. So anytime gunboats are attacking it, if they can get around the islands or ambush it in some way, it will be extinguished very quickly. I think what might need to happen is that the gunboats and rocket boats need to have their battle. And then, like you're saying, I think the 2-gun is a late game thing, but you can't wait too long because your team might lose. So
Yeah,
I think it may be
because
interesting the Admiral's strategic perspective of when to take it out.
yeah, because Lamarck, don't forget, if your gunboats are doing too well and two of them survive active, how does that work? Can you deactivate one to bring in the two-gun, or does one have to sink?
No, it has to sink. I
So
mean,
you
this is following
have to
all
sail it
gunboat
into the
rules.
fleet and hope that the enemy sinks it for you. So if the enemy pay
You can
attention,
also take it out yourself. We saw in one
oh
of
yeah,
the
yeah, true.
we saw I think the Leviathans in a recent game actually had to destroy one of their own gunboats because it got demasted and degunned.
Oh yeah,
Like
oh
something
yeah,
bad happened to it.
right.
It was useless. So you're more than welcome to friendly fire on your own ships. There's no rule against that. So
Yeah,
that will be an interesting possibility that we may see people disabling their own ships. I
yeah,
don't know how that'll work, but let's see if it does.
that's interesting. Yeah, but it of course is detrimental to points. So you have to have some very selfless
Yes,
cannoneers there. Um,
that's true.
right.
That's true.
So
We're in? It seems like we're about to end the match now. I want to also tell everyone that we've decided on a neutral win today to give everybody the opportunity to just play as they play. So the wind is going to be south today.
yeah, I don't think we have it in stream yet. The map. So just what I would like to say about my thoughts, with the two gun. I would take it out if I was the admiral. I would take it out early. Actually, I would start with the two gun, or maybe bring it in as the first replacement or something like that, because the two gun has the great range, right? And
Yeah.
most of these maps are open enough that you have sight lanes to the enemy pretty early on.
Yes.
Far out of 8-gun range, and with no 13 guns, no carronades, it really is 8-gun range is the highest range there is beside the 2-gun. So if the enemy doesn't bring out their 2-gun first, and you do, then you get basically free range shots at the enemy fleet, and you can keep at a distance because they have your own 8 guns in the way, probably, and
Yep.
you just sail around the arena border more or less because you're maneuverable, right? The 2-gun can go pretty quickly against the wind compared to an 8-gun. So it's pretty maneuverable and can probably keep its distance, I would think, and just do the damage from the beginning and just be a bit careful with the boats. Yeah, but if you have good gunners, it's like 2 shots with a 2-gun to take out a gunboat.
Absolutely. Yeah. They will wreck the gunboats if left unchecked.
Yeah, and if you can just focus fire maybe with the 2-gun and your 8-gun fleet in the initial engagement where they're all still together, then you can very quickly sink one of the 8-guns, even
Well, we
though
will
they have
see
more
because
HP. That's my
they
thoughts.
are going to have a lot of HP, and I don't know how much HP because I think HP in this it's just so much larger than we're used to in any other kind of
Yeah,
match.
that's true.
It's really tough to decide what the impact, but that's what we're going to be looking for today. So
Yeah.
just for the audience, we have the KRN are going to be on the French team. That is the right side of your screen, and we have the Royal Black Fleet on the British team, which is on the left side of your screen. So again, the KRN green ships, right side of the screen. Royal Black Fleet, yellow ships, left side of the screen. I'm already seeing that the KRN are flashing sails for their 2-gun, so it looks like we're going to have the 2-gun coming in right away on the KRN side. Very interesting to see. To go on to what you were saying before, I think it would be probably smarter to take the 2-gun out after your first or second gunboat go down, because like a gunboat, the 2-gun is best when nobody's paying attention to it. So you want to let that battle develop in a way that all the 8-guns are paying attention to each other and not focusing on your 2-gun. You don't want anybody to even notice that your 2-gun is deployed. And if you start it off like the KRN are starting it off right now, you will definitely the other team's going to notice. No question about it. They're going to know it's there and they're going to do something about it. Who knows what?
Yeah, by the way, the map is enormous, and the wind is south, meaning it is going away from the overhead camera currently. So you can see the Kraken team on the right and also the Royal Black Fleet on the left, both starting against the wind, both taking out their 2-gun, it looks like, and both one gunboat with it. Kraken team are all forming a line with the 2-gun actually in the lead of their line. It looks like. I know
and they're going to
that
go against the wind because that's and you're going to notice these 2-guns in every battle they're in are just going to go directly against the wind to start off with, because it gives them the enemies. It makes the enemy harder for the enemy to get to them because they have to go against the wind to reach them, and all the while that 2-gun is going to be a pounding.
Kraken have Parlo and Jack Sparrow on the cannons of their 2-gun and Jax at the helm. And I'll tell you in a moment who the Royal Blackfleet does, who, by the way, are made up of the 26th, the FRL, and the 8th LR regiments. Just so that we have that out of the way, because they are a composite team, while the Kraken are just the King's Royal Navy.
And just out of curiosity, how many people do we have on each team?
We do have a bit over 30, so 31 to 33.
That's great. Yeah, one of the reasons that we were talking about taking out the 13 gun is because it requires such a large crew investment. And again, we were talking about ways to sort of reduce the reliance on mercenaries to be like 1/5 to 1/4 of the team rather than like something near half. And so this 30 number is a beautiful, beautiful number for both of these teams. It gives them full crews on every ship. All right. Oh, there's the first volleys coming out from the 2 guns, and you can see the just tremendous range that these ships have. They're unlike any other ship all the way away. It is almost hitting the Kraken's 2 gun is almost hitting the lead.
Yeah.
Of
Royal
the
Blackfleet,
Royal Blackfleet.
by the way, have Phalasian and Muffin Top Scout on the 2-gun cannon.
All right, and here we go. These 2 guns are going to be aiming for each other pretty fast. The only major check on a 2 gun, I talked about gunboats and rocket boats earlier, but really the major check on a 2 gun is another 2 gun. Yeah. Once one of these 2 guns takes the other one out, it is in a much better and much safer position. Yeah. And we are going to see this 2 gun duel be probably the first priority from both of these 2 guns. Though it looks like the Krakrns are firing at an 8 gun, but it's not hitting. As the Royal Blackfleet's 2 gun gets into range of the Krakrns 2 gun, we are going to see these 2 duke it out. And that is going to be the first phase of this battle while the 8 guns happen. And this is something that I worried about when putting in the 2 guns, which is that they basically have their own thing on the side to settle out which 2 gun gets to live and which 2 gun dies. And that is, I mean, listen, the 2 gunners love this. I mean, the 2 gun is like, for those of you not in the community, the 2 gun is like a drug to cannoneers. It is their favorite ship. It is a cannoneer's favorite ship. And we will see very early on.
Like catnip.
Yeah, it is like they cannot resist it.
That's interesting. Both 8-gunner fleets have turned with the wind now and going broadside to broadside on a, kind of collision course downwind, while the 2 guns have turned upwind, both of them, as you said, also closing the distance quite rapidly. I would think they're currently at like 600 meters, maybe, the 2 guns.
And we've got our first hit from a 2 gun onto an 8 gun. So it looks like the Royal Blackfleet 2 gun is saving its front cannon for the enemy 2 gun, but its rear cannon for the enemy fleet, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, and these 8 guns are basically getting into a position where they can start firing at each other. We are seeing that the Royal Blackfleet's British 2 gun is taking the worst of the damage here, which is kind of to be expected because it doesn't have both of its cannons turned in. It is already down to half strength, probably going to be even lower. I think we're going to see them lose it first and fast. And that's because of their adherence to the circular island, which is not letting them turn both their cannons in rotation. And we do have the 8 guns basically getting into range of each other now.
Ooh, that's a devastating hit from the Kraken 2 gun, taking out the captain and the rear cannoneer of the Royal Blackfleet's 2 gun.
Yeah, that Royal Blackfleet 2 gun is going to be taken out.
They can't turn currently because the captain is dead at the helm. Now they have a 1-person respawn.
It's going to go down. Then there it is.
Yeah, there you go.
We've already lost our first 2 gun, and the KRN 2 gun is totally fine.
Yeah, I do not like that prospect for the coming season.
I also really don't like it. I'd be honest, at this point, I'd probably rather add another 8 gun than add another 2 gun. Because, this is, but at the same time, this is a choice that they both made. They did not have to take these 2 guns out first.
No, but imagine if that Kraken 2 gun sailed right where it did sail now, but the Royal Blackfleet didn't take out theirs, and the Krakens were just shooting Royal Blackfleet without retaliation possible.
Maybe, but I think the gunboats have, because of the islands, the gunboats have plenty of opportunities to harass. You might need to throw away 3 of your gunboats, but I foresee that it will be. I hope the Royal Blackfleet takes their gunboats and punishes the hell out of this gunboat or this 2 gun. All right, so let's get to the real action here, which is the 8 guns. we are seeing a circle develop, a doom spiral develop, and it's possible that it could. With the wind going south, I would be very suspicious to see the Royal Black Fleet turn to starboard here.
No, they're not.
They seem to be going around the
Yeah.
outside of that pill-shaped island, which is
Yeah.
probably the right choice for them here.
They're escaping the circle.
But what I
Right.
really want to see is if these 8 guns can get close to one another. This is a boarding action. This is the perfect situation for charging and boarding actions, because these 8 guns have so much HP and their cannons don't really do a lot of damage. We could see even after this engagement on the broadside, these 8 guns are not damaged much at all. So these guys got to get real aggressive here. Oh, it looks like the Royal Black Fleet is not going behind the pill-shaped island. They're doing a leftwards turn, which I agree with. I think that's great. They could take the pain. They've got to keep the pressure up no matter what on each other. That's what's going to determine this battle.
Their rearmost 8 gunner here has taken the focused fire of the Kraken fleet.
But you're not seeing it reflected.
Has lost nothing. Yeah.
So I hope that these guys
bit of boards on the side, and that's it.
I hope these guys discover basically very early on that oh wow, we can be really, really aggressive, and we could take turns and make risks and switch up these ship maneuvers, and we're really not going to get punished too terribly for it. We do see now that the gunboats are coming in for the 2-gun. They do not seem to be doing anything just yet. You know, realistically, they're not doing much damage here. And so what we're seeing is that 2-gun is able to dominate the gunboat battle, but how much that's translating into any victory or defeat in the 8-gun battle is to be decided. The Krakens are sending an 8-gun behind the fleet. All right, Sabo, you're an admiral. You're here. You've seen what you've seen. What are your analyses, and what would you be doing if you were these guys?
Well, it's certainly an interesting choice to split the fleet, especially at that sort of angle, to be honest. Normally, you'd want to keep your fleet together. So splitting off is not always the best choice. We have seen it happen before, people split off, and it's usually not worked out very well. But with this increased health, it might be able to pull it off if they can get around that island, get behind, and just trap them in a corner.
Yeah. I think
so. They're not being hit too much currently.
No, I think they're going to have to get a lot closer and get a lot. And yeah, because the wind is south, that ship that's crossing behind is going to be able to just jet in when they get to the wall.
Yeah, what we've got to do is do a sharp turn before they get to the island, and you'll be able to pin them in. I think
we're
the 2
seeing,
guns are far as
we're
well.
seeing the 2-gun, the first time that the 2-gun is actively firing at 8 guns. And oh, look at this. Look at this. The 8 guns on the Royal Black Fleet are flipping. They are spinning around, which has gotten their they've lost a cannon for it, but they're going to try and cut behind the Karen fleet. And and they can do it. They can do it.
Yeah, and then Killer Bow guy in his lone 8-gun there is gonna get a whole other broadside probably, because now they can potentially fire on both sides at the same time.
We're starting to see a little bit of damage on the closest Royal Black Fleet ship. I mean, this is a bit of a messy maneuver here. They are blocking each other very significantly, whereas the KRN are doing a little bit more cohesive fleet work with the 3 8-guns that they have there. However, I mean, again, they're still, all these ships, none of them are down to half HP yet. And I like to see that once they get to the wall, they're not afraid to turn in, nor should they be. I would like to note that the 2-gun on the Kraken's 2-gun is now below half HP. We're going to see it out in very shortly. It's getting harassed by gunboats.
Yeah, so
but it is taking out the gunboats. But
the Royal Black Fleet lead, I would say, so rightmost 8-gun here is taking really quite some damage to its cannons. And
how many cannons does it have on that starboard side?
It has 2.
Okay.
2, I believe.
I mean, bad, but not catastrophic here. The problem for the Royal Black Fleet is that they're splitting their interests a lot here. They're really, really, really splitting their interests, and they're not getting a lot of payoff for it.
Yeah,
so
they've
really got to
make
make
rotation of that 2-gun. The
2-gun has
gone so close that now it's in rotation and range for the 8-guns.
That lead ship needs to take that 2-gun out.
Oh yeah, they're going to. I'm sure of it. One more shot and it's down.
Mm-hmm. So I think this goes to show you take those 2 guns out early, they're going to die early.
Yeah, that's
They just
Emperor
cannot
J here.
avoid. There it is. It's gone.
Yeah.
And so now we're in an 8-gun battle. And in that 8-gun battle, the KRN are winning pretty decisively. The Royal Black Fleet really need to get it together and start focusing fire on something the way the KRN are doing, because they've got that lead ship down significantly. And it looks like the Royal Black Fleet may be piloting their 2nd ship in their eastern pair to get in there and start disrupting one of the KRN ships. It looks like it's on a beeline for it. So they're going to be sacrificing that ship.
No, but that's the healthy ship still.
Yeah.
That is the healthy ship here. That is Spelunker K, Marshal Spelunker K of the FRL, on a collision course here. And the Krakrns just noticed, trying to get out of the way, but they're slightly against the wind here.
So let's get ready, because that's going to be a boarding action for sure, and I'd love to get that for the audience to see, because this is what I was hoping for from these 8-gun battles. A lot
there
more.
They go. They're clearing their cannons, and collision. There we go. Boom.
Beautiful.
Kraken crew is off the helm, and they're all just defending their ship. They're on board, on deck. Yeah, both captains are off the helm.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Now, there is a Royal Black Fleet ship that is just on the edge of being destroyed, and it's probably going to go down any second now, which is going to put the Krakrns well ahead in this battle. We will see how that plays out, however. Oh, a D-mast on the ship that collided.
Carpenter.
Wow, what a great D-mast. So important. So important to get when the boarding action comes, because it's the only way that you can escape. All right, we've got to sink the first 8-gun to sink on the Royal Black Fleet, but that is not destiny here. The KRN are in a decisive advantage in the battle. They do have a lot more ship HP overall. But if we can keep up with the chaos here, and the gunboats can start getting involved, and the rocket boats can start getting involved, we could see huge results and swing it in the favor of the Royal Black Fleet. We will see, though. I am not optimistic about the Royal Black Fleet's chances right now, but I love the chaos.
Yeah, that demasted ship here, though, still has 3 cannons on its starboard, and it's right behind the sterns. No, it
seems to be much more concerned with the ship on its port side, but if it can get between both of those ships, it can get damage on both sides, and it should, because it is deep in the heart of KRN territory right now. The only thing is that the KRN are going to be able to focus fire really significantly on those 2 remaining ships, and I don't see that going very well for the Royal Black Fleet.
Although the RBF, Royal Black Fleet, is currently, I think, bringing in a rocket boat, actually.
Yeah, and it's scoring some early hits on. Well, it's getting close to scoring some early hits on some of the Kraken ships, but it's not finding purchase just yet.
Yeah. Let me just get a close look here.
What are the Royal Black Fleet ships doing back there? It is messy. One of them seems to be just like going away from the battlefield. I really can't tell.
Yeah, that victorious Kraken 8-gun here. Still has all cannons up.
It looks like the Royal Black Fleet's D-masted ship is going for another boarding action. It's trying very slowly.
All right, I'll take a look. Oh,
it's taking some serious.
Swivel guns exploded, I believe. Yeah, and they're being boarded by swimmers. Oh, they got actually another carpenter on board who won the blunderbuss duel here. That's Metric. Wood Butcher Metric. Oh, and he's down.
All right, well, we have a boarding action. It is happening.
Oh yeah, it is. Wow, one ship taking 2 boarding actions, successfully delivering 2 charges, basically.
Now they've got to cut the Royal Black Fleet's got to cut their sails so they can maintain the boarding action, or they will drift away. That's not gonna work. All right, so let's see. We are getting a little bit close. I want to say that the Royal Black Fleet have the opportunity to turn it around, but I'm really not seeing a D-mast on a Royal Black, on a KRN ship. Now these 2 ships are going to be... Who is it?
Kappa McCaps is the carpenter here. Swinging his axe still at the 2nd mast of that Kraken ship. He might take... Yes, there it is. He took 2 masts with 1 life. That's Kappa McCaps, and he's still up. Blunderbuss kill, and he survived the blunderbuss shot himself. And he's still up. He's being helped by his teammate Mr. Death here. They're still up, my goodness, and now they have help from a second Carpenter, ex-Benedict, also chopping at that Karen ship. That's not gonna survive much longer. I believe that's the damaged Kraken ship, right?
It's got to be the one that's the worst off, and they really do need to sink that ship as soon as humanly possible because that's the only way that they have any kind of path to victory. They are taking huge incoming fire on that demasted Royal Black Fleet ship, but the boarding actions are just superb.
Yeah, both sides Carpenters really do. Like, the other side has Boss, I believe, as a Carpenter, and now they come into their own. Like, the whole preseason, it was kind of a meme, you know, the Carpenters lusting for wood chips under their axes, and it kind of almost never materialized because they were always at standoff ranges with their cannons, but yeah, this is the dream.
Yeah, this is what I had always hoped for the NSL, which is just sort of madness, absolute madness. You know, ships colliding with each other.
Rest of the fleet. This is great.
Yeah, this is a very fun watch. All right, well, Sabo, how are you feeling about this so far? And if you were either of these captains and admirals, what would you be doing here?
To be honest, I ain't got a clue what you do. It's absolute chaos. Like, I was happily also watching the boarding action and scanning around every so often, but yeah, the ships are so dispersed. In order to actually reorganize yourself, you'd have to disengage from so many combat, which would open you to so much more engagement and damage.
Oh wow!
So you just have to ride the storm at that point and just do as much damage as possible, and try and form some form of group again. But it is manic. Like, I've seen friendly fire shots going up on those two 8 guns.
Yeah, I've seen it as well.
It was that tight in those quarters. Anyone was a target.
Yeah.
I
do want to point out though that the Krakens haven't lost a gunboat or rocket boat yet.
No, they haven't. We have another RBF sink. That is their demasted ship that's gone down, which is surprising because the Kraken's one I thought was going to go down first, and it did not. So now it's 2v4, but it's, I mean, that demasted one's going to go down any second if they just pay attention to it. Then it'll be 2v3 with the Kraken ships at basically full ship. Yeah, another ramming. Yeah. These Royal Black Fleet guys are going to go hard on this boarding action as the way to take down the Krakens, and it is their path to victory here, 100%.
They again have got their captain off the helm though. He's leading the boarding party.
See, you don't want to do that.
Ship sail away there.
You've got to maintain control of your ship in these boarding actions.
Kraken captain Percival Plot also off the helm. Now there's a sword duel between the two. The Doctor won that sword duel. Both captains are dead currently.
Oh my god.
My goodness. Wait, is the respawn time? No, they have 2 captains on their ship. Oh, that's what. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I think now this could just be the novelty. This is just a one-time test. It's not going to be indicative of how everything's going to play out. But this is what I had hoped to see from 8 guns only, especially with the high ship HPs. You have the opportunity to dive in towards the enemy and and take acceptable losses in doing so, and then you can make boarding actions a real part of the meta. And I want boarding actions to be so much more in the meta than it ever was before.
Boarding with a rowboat actually onto the Kraken 8 gun. And my goodness,
still haven't sunk that Kraken 8 gun that's demasted. Still haven't sunk it yet, by the way.
No.
And it's firing. It's doing a lot.
They are just engaged with each other.
So it is 1 RBF 8 gun versus basically 3 Kraken 8 guns. It's got to take out that demasted 8 gun. It's got to. Ooh, a cannon the RBF cannot afford to lose on that southernmost 8 gun.
Oh, they did exchange there as well. When they lost theirs, they took out one of that one.
Ooh.
Oh, there goes another one.
This is bad. This is bad. They're going to have to flip the ship, and I don't know that they have the ship HP to really last that long once they do it. But they've got to take out that battle barge.
Even if they flip the ship, they've only got 1 cannon on that right side.
All right, well, it looks like it's boarding action time for them, but they have bad wind for it.
They've also got the gunboat in their rear as well, that ship.
Yeah, the Krakens are an incredible team, and they are showing here that even in totally unprecedented circumstances, they can hold formations, they can split fleets with ease and very strong, and that, you know, this is listen.
Oh, another demast. Ex-Benedict Arnold as a mercenary here today for the RBF for Royal Black Fleet. has
And he's gonna
demanded
get another one.
My goodness.
That's I mean, if he survives, he can do whatever he wants on that ship, and he is just going crazy over there.
Yeah, it's my goodness. He has all these carpenters really. I mean, we saw at least five demasts today, right? Like,
Well, I think we know how the Carpenters are going to vote on this new format. I think they love it.
yeah, they'll probably say, "Oh, no, I don't care for the 2-gun. Just delete the 13." Yeah.
Honestly, after just like gut reaction, the 2-gun, maybe it could be used more efficiently in certain ways, and it certainly can be a great way to take out some of these demasted ships. But I think I'd probably rather see an extra 8-gun thrown in rather than a 2-gun.
You know
Because
what's
these 8-guns are having so much fun.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that freshly both demasted Kraken boat though? It's still at over half HP.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a battle barge, yeah.
Really gives, and is that a demast on the ship that was boarding it?
Yep.
So we have another
It
demast.
was, yeah.
It was, but I believe not by
nuts.
Carpenter, but by a
No, it
gunfire.
was done by the 8-gun behind.
Great strategy. Demasting is and chain shot can have so much more utility in a situation like this.
Yeah, because I don't know if the masts have more HP, so you
They
can
do.
still
They
take
probably
them
do
down.
not. They very likely do not have more HP. We are seeing at this point that the Royal Black Fleet's 8-guns are on the edge of sinking, both of them, and so I think we're gonna be able to call a victory here for the Krakens any minute now.
Yeah,
and there goes one, and I expect you're gonna see the other very quickly.
And that's trying to engage the battle barge there. It's trying to take out at least one Kraken ship before it dies. Right? No, wait. Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
it.
That is the end of that. What a fascinating battle. I can't wait to get the Admirals in here to see how they feel about what happened today. But what are your guys' takeaways first thing? And I want to hear from all of our correspondents. We'll ask everybody what they're thinking about this. All right, so let's start with Warble. What is your takeaway? What did you feel worked? What did you feel didn't? And what would you want to see change from this going into next season?
Boarding definitely worked. I don't know if our style of commentary works for that because there's just so much going on at the same time. I think taking out the 13-gunner can have a really good effect on, as you say, aggressiveness, also increasing 8-gun HP. The 2-gun, as you said, could be used more effectively maybe if it's used at a different time, although I still wonder if it's that easy, as you said, to deal with an enemy taking out their 2-gun first with just your gunboats. You'll definitely lose some of those.
Totally. I mean, we saw that happen once the KRN's 2-gun won its duel. It took, I think, 2 or 3 gunboats and an 8-gun paying attention to it to really take it out.
If they'd stayed at a distance from the 8-guns, probably even they would have survived much longer than that.
I agree.
And had more impact because once some of these 8-guns get turned into battle barges, demasted, then they're really easy prey for a 2-gun, which can stay at bay indefinitely. At that point.
I think the thing is that those gunboats buzzing around you, it puts a little fear into the 2-gun captains, and I do think that makes them have to move. So you've really got to have an effective defense for the gunboats.
I would actually think that maybe 5 8-guns, 5 8-guns, and potentially not even a 2-gun.
We would have to. It's kind of got to be one or the other.
Could be interesting. Just get everyone actually in there, get into the melee, get into the boarding. But I mean, that's a hard sell on the cannoneers because this season was pretty cannoneering or gunnery focused, with the 13 guns and everything. And I think that's a cool thing about naval, that it's not just musketry and bayonets, that there is gunnery for everyone and not just for 1 or 2 artillerists per team. So I would like to keep that element in the future.
I mean, it's not that it wasn't featured here. There was a ton of cannoneering, and it influenced a lot of how this battle went down. It's just, I think the thing with the 13 gun is it keeps it at a certain range, and that range is just prohibitive to board. There is the only boarding action you're going to get is rowboats. Whereas I saw this as a beautiful hybrid of cannoneering and boarding actions, and using these ships a lot more. I mean, this is probably a lot closer to what many battles in actual naval warfare would have been like, especially in this age,
That's true, yeah.
with these ships closing, firing at each other in the beginning, or some staying back and some going in, but a sort of a mix of swashbuckling action on the decks along with cannoneering, and then using, pairing two ships pairing up on one ship and boarding it from both sides, or one ship firing at it, one ship boarding it, and I think this could be. I think the players are probably going to say that they liked it a lot more, but we will see. All right, Sabo, what did you feel watching this today, and what did you think?
Definitely a lot more. You got a lot more close-up action there, more aggressiveness from the 8 guns. 2 guns, I think, definitely could be used better if you want to stick with the 2 guns, because early game they're going to get focused off the bat. You want a 2 gun out, it's going to get shot first. I learned that from all the naval events. 2 gun always gets focused. Everyone knows that. But late game, as we saw all those D masts, as Werble said, that 2 gun would reign supreme on that field when there's no mast on any ships.
Okay. Yeah. And they I mean, yeah, I think a mid to late game 2 gun would be a very different experience. And now, I don't want to, rag too hard on the admirals for taking them out early. I think they wanted to see what the heck was going to happen when they used them. But I think as a sort of meta could develop around this, I think we could see very interesting things from that. And so, aside from do you think that the action and the aggressiveness of the 8 guns, do you think that is sort of a more fun option or a less fun option in the way that, admirals get to command and then the captains get to play, and then especially for the sailors on the ships?
Well, it definitely seemed to have provided more entertainment for them, as there was a lot of board action for them. A bit more action than what they're used to. So obviously the 13 gun kept a lot of things at range and at distance. With its cannons and the threat it could pose upon them in close quarters. So originally it was a case of bring down the 13, and if that goes down, then you can get closer. But while it was up, you couldn't really get close to it.
That's right.
For the threat of the cannons it could bear down upon you.
And that's usually like half to 3/4 of the battle that those things are up, because nobody's trying to sacrifice them early. So that lived a very short amount of time for that close range engagement at the end.
Yeah, but here you literally had it straight off the bat almost.
Mm-hmm.
Minutes of preparation to get in there, formed up, and then they just got stuck in. At one point, it looked like there was no cohesion at all. It was that mental when it came to the combat of ships firing upon every other ship that possibly could get angle on at that point. You were just seeing ships turning onto ships, thinking, "Oh, well, we've got a chance here. We'll fire there. Oh, there's another one. We'll turn and fire there." It was a lot of things to try and watch.
Yeah, it was. I think coverage will certainly have to change to reflect what this new meta can be, if this is what we choose to do. Now, I want to open it up. Before I open it up to the admirals, I did say that I would ask the correspondents. I'm not going to go individually because we do have many of them, but is there any correspondent that has sort of a take on this and wants to tell the audience and tell me how they felt about what they saw today, positive or negative?
I would say something.
Sure. What's up, Mika? What are your thoughts?
I kind of think like these things would bring a lot more benefit for using a chain shot actually in the events. Getting a cannon, getting a mass down would be even more like advantageous to the teams, and that would maybe open up a more tactical side or strategical side of admirals actually using up, because at least what I have seen, it has been a lot of round shot at each other until each other dies. So maybe now there would be more focus on demasting, not only from boarding action, but also from chain shots, like you bring it up in the middle of the broadcasting.
Yep. So, I mean, I think, again, the 13 gun, like Sabo said, it forces a certain long range, and the chain shot gets more useful. And for audience who don't know, a chain shot is a slightly wider shot that deals extra damage to masts, right? So it hits those masts that are sticking up out of the ship, and it knocks the sails over and disables the ship. That's what the chain shot's for. You almost never see it in the NSL because at high distance, it's so hard to hit the mast of a moving ship. But when you get real close like this, not only is chain shot great for the masts, but as I think you're implying here, Mika, you can shoot it across the deck of a ship and kill a ton of people. I mean, you'll kill your own people just as much as you'll kill the enemy, but still very interesting. Any other correspondents have a take that they want to give on what they saw today?
I would say this format of the NSL is like checkers compared to chess, which is the current format, because this was less of a thinking man's game and more of a get in there, stab them, cut down masts, and just cause all kinds of chaos. It started in a just kind of a line battle, and then it quickly descended into just all out chaos with 8 guns 1v1ing each other and the gunboats weaving in between, going after other gunboats and taking backboards off of the other 8 guns. And I would say in this format, the rocket boats become even more obsolete and lose their function because, sure, rocket boats can rain their rockets and cause explosions and havoc. Problem is, 9 times out of 10, if you do manage to hit a ship, you're probably going to end up killing your own guys. And if you end up killing carpenters, that's very bad for a boarding action.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Uh, As for the 2 guns, I think this particular instance, the 2 guns were not employed in a proper function because they started their engagement by kind of just trying to get as close to each other as they possibly could before engaging. Also, I noticed as I was following the French gunboats and the 2 gun lost almost a third of its health from one shot when an RBF gunboat took out its backboard. So the 2 guns are definitely susceptible to gunboat action if they can get close enough.
Yeah, I think anything was going to look like checkers today because we're just dealing with just something that the Admirals have just never seen before, right? So nobody was going to have and also they found out that this was the way that this battle was going to be, like 30 minutes before the battle started. So I'm certainly not expecting, amazing, brilliant tactical decisions here. More or less, it was going to be, we're going to start like we usually start in good line formation, and then whatever happens, we're going to adjust basically with our gut instincts, which seems to be what happened. I think boarding action can have that chess-like aspect to it. It's just, the meta is going to have to redevelop around it. But I think, just your takeaways on how the gunboats and the wildness of it all. It's going to be, again, I can't. I would love to see this kind of battle develop because it looks so interesting, and I think it's so much more thrilling to watch than the just cannon duels at a range, which are just again, that wall mentality is going to keep coming up again and again and again as long as the 13 guns are around because you can't pull out, you can't pull in. The 13 gun will punish any variation on the line technique, and so I wonder if this could create a different kind of narrative that we can see, and certainly different kind of coverage. But thank you, Safe. Yeah, I think especially on that small ship game, there's a lot that needs to be rediscovered in that, and the 2 guns are obviously glass cannons to the extreme. I want to open it up one more time to any correspondence, and then we're going to go to the Admirals and see what they thought. All right. Yeah, let's start with our Splunker K, our admiral or one of the admirals from the Royal Black Fleet. Victory and defeat really doesn't matter here today. We were just having a fun exhibition. What did you think of the battle? Tell me how you felt about the lack of a 13 gun, the addition of the 2 gun, and then just the overall aggressiveness that happened from the 8 guns. And I think my first question for you is, did you enjoy it? Was this fun?
Frankie, do you want to go first?
I had
sorry, I didn't
a
see Frankie
lot
here.
of fun. That was so much fun. It was very, very interesting. The way it played out is very chaotic.
Yeah.
I think the way the 2 guns got used was like you said. I think probably could have been done better, but again, this was something new to us, and I think it was very interesting. I would very much like to see it moving forward, just because I think the format's a little more manageable without having to have a crew for a full 13 plus 4 other 8 guns and then everybody else. It's just definitely helping, especially with some of the smaller edges.
Yeah.
Like, how we are. We're not super popular on the naval side, but we still got a couple people who really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think in general, no matter what, I think we're gonna have to find a way to make everything else just a touch smaller. So this size really seemed to be good today. Even when we found out we weren't having our actual battle and you guys lost some numbers, which is sort of normal, we still had 30 people per side, plenty of people in this battle, and so that was great. So yeah, Splunker, did you have anything to add? How was your experience?
I got to finally do it. I got to finally tear after all these events. I got to finally have my boarding action, and oh my, was it great! No,
Okay.
like this was great to have. The boarding action meta was something I've always wanted to explore. I always thought it was probably the least applied aspect of this event that never
Mhm.
really got fulfilled. We've only seen
Yeah.
it maybe a couple of times used in mass, and this time it was used plenty. There was even a moment where someone mentioned earlier, I think, about friendly fire. We did have an instance where an enemy carpenter was killed by his own team with a cannon. It was it was right next to me. I was fighting him, and a cannonball just killed him. Uh, it was certainly interesting to see the two gunners engaged. When the outset of the match started, like you said, it was very much like the chessboard style we normally play
Mhm.
on, and the two gunners went off to go duke it out. And we essentially said, let them duke it out, let's see what happens. We're just going to engage each other as normal lines. I think that having the two gunners acting as hard hitting glass cannons would be very helpful, because one of the things that we were most worried about the two gunners is that they would be kind of similar to the 8-gun health, and that they would be able to tank shots at a distance, and because the two gunners have great advantage over distance and damage, it'd be very frustrating to play as an 8-gunner and having to fight up against that. But having them there as kind of like a long range support, where you know that if they're not careful, they can be taken out pretty easily, is something I think that I would like to see in the future. I know that other members of the crew, specifically the mercenaries, were a little apprehensive about having the two gunner because they're very familiar with it in other formats being very overpowered. But I think with the right level of balancing, I think it'll be a much better addition than the 13 gunner, considering that it'll be like how Frankie said, with smaller regiments, a lot more friendly. And overall, other than that, I think this was a very interesting event. I'm glad that it was able to be put together under very short order, as
Well,
well as it was, considering how chaotic it is.
I want to say that we do have you to thank for it. This was your suggestion when we were dealing with the fallout of the AGS issue. And I think it was a stroke of genius, Blunker. So we really appreciate you coming up with this idea and pitching it to us, because it was a great opportunity to see something that we haven't seen before. So I'm very grateful to you.
Always.
All right, let's turn it over to the KRN, our victorious victorious admirals, in what was a highly messy and looked like a riotously fun battle. That's my opinion, though. I want to ask you guys how you thought about it. Let's start with Swaggington. Swaggington, what did you think about today's battle? How about the two guns? What do you think about the two guns? The removal of the 13 gun, and again, I'll ask you the same question first. Did you like it? Did you like it a little bit more than usual, or what?
We did very much enjoy the event. The removal of the 13 and the addition of the 2 is definitely an interesting one, because the 2 is quite a feared ship. But it, with the low health it had and the high health of the 8 guns, it didn't throw off the balance too much, I feel. And we did have somewhat of a plan going into it, but obviously new setting, you never know what's going to happen, and I certainly wasn't expecting the boarding action to that degree. We ended up with 2 just rafts at that point, where 2 of our 8 guns had been entirely demasted. But we did have a somewhat plan of trying to separate the fleet and get in between it and fire on both sides, which we did achieve with a number of our ships. We had the rear 8 guns split off, distract a couple of ships. The rest of us ploughed through the middle. So it worked to what we were kind of looking for. And yeah, definitely a lot of fun on the boarding side of things.
Yeah, that was fun to watch, at least.
The 2 gun was kind of, again, we didn't really know how to play that either, so I kind of just sent it off in the distance to harass, and then when we saw the other 2 gun coming in for it, like Splunk said, just a straight up duel, see what happens, and then go from there.
Yeah,
So-
one of the questions I think I really had, because there is it one of the things we were a little disheartened to see in the beginning, but is very, very much what we expected, was that basically the two guns just kind of have their own mini duel in the beginning of the battle that doesn't really have anything else to do with the rest of the fleet. And so it felt very separated and distinct from the 8-gun battle. But once that's over and there's only one 2-gun left, what was the thought process at that point? Was it just like, all right, get it into the battle, have it start ranging shots from afar at the enemy 8-guns? I mean, that seems to be sort of just the standard play, you know, just get it into range of the enemy 8-guns and just start letting it start picking them off. Was there any more consideration going into that?
Not really. That was pretty much it. Get it so it was firing into the main fleet. We hadn't picked up on the gunboats being so close until a bit late, but we did have our gunboat there securing the 2-gun safety for at least a while, so it got off a good few shots.
Yes.
So it would definitely be a thing to look into in the future, is where to place the 2-gun on the map.
Yeah. And did you feel that the 2-gun was particularly overpowered in the context of the game?
Not so much. In a normal event, it would have been, I think, but with the higher health of the 8-guns, it wasn't as bad as we were thinking it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think the gunboats and rocket boats actually do fairly well counter it, because you can just throw them in at it, and it's quite they're such a small target to hit. You need a really good 2-gunner crew.
Not to mention the islands that they can dodge behind and stuff like that to make their approach. Yeah, I agree.
So on the smaller maps, at least, I think the 2-gun wouldn't be too much of a problem.
Okay, Barry, let's turn it over to you. How was your experience, and what are your thoughts on all these issues and changes?
Well, I think for me personally, I can really divide it up in two categories, so to say. With the 13-gun missing and having a entire 8-gun fleet, it really changed the dynamic of the fleet battle in this case. As everybody before me just said, it was really chaotic, especially the second half of the match. And then you have the 2-gun as well. As you said, they first fought out their own little battle. And the victor, in this case, our 2-gun, could join the 8-guns. I had my doubts to start with about the 2-gun. I was fearing it to be, as everybody else said as well, to be way too overpowered, because you do pair up the ship with the largest distance with the ships with basically the shortest distance. So I was afraid it could just hang out around the wall, do damage from there. But indeed, the rocket boats and the gunboats could counter it really well, and it allowed for some interesting tactics. So I think it's something we can investigate more.
Yeah. Just a little bit before we start talking to you guys, Safe had made a very interesting point regarding the rocket boats and their very low utility. How did you guys feel about the rocket boats? Did you feel that they were basically like, could you see a game where we just kind of don't have rocket boats and we just kind of only have the gunboats as those, the gunboats and maybe a 2-gun, or just maybe even the gunboats themselves without the rocket boat? Do you feel that the rocket boats in the league thus far, in the normal battles and in this battle, that they were particularly impactful?
In this battle, I felt they definitely had an impact. One of our 8-guns was being chased by a rocket boat that was just right on its rear, so it was impossible to take down without friendly fire. I mean, they do a lot of damage to the destructibles, the cannons, the masts. They do have an impact. I feel like there has been less utilization in the NSL so far. I mean, we're guilty of that, and I definitely wanted to expand the rocket boat usage for the next match. So.
Okay. And what about the? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have more?
I was just saying, I like the addition of the rocket boats personally.
And same for the other team, RBF guys. How did you feel about the rocket boat play today as compared to in your previous battles?
I think the rocket boat definitely played less of a significant, role in this battle for sure. The gunboats, they've got that range on it. Obviously, it's very easy to harass and just make those rocket boats have a horrible time unless they get really, really close. And as I believe who was it said it earlier, but you can clear the deck of your own people with the rockets.
Yeah, that was safe.
Which is also kind of a drawback, but I think they are heavy hitters, and I think there is some application. It's just very limited.
If you could wave a wand and take them out of the NSL, would anybody here remove the rocket boats in favor of just pure gunboats?
I would, I think.
Yeah.
I would say that it did make a case for him, just to kind of give a difference of thought, is that rocket boats are not as utility oriented as gunboats are. Gunboats, you can use them in a variety of different ways. They can act as
Yeah.
screens, they can act as long range support, even. But I think that if you were in a situation, a very specific situation, where the 8 gunners, as they were in this round, very close together and chaotically formed, the rocket boats can take advantage of that, as their approach should be a lot less easily noticed. And
Yes.
so that it's very case specific. Maybe having less rocket boat slots and giving more gunboat slots might be better in like a general sense, but I
Mhm.
don't know if I would outright say to get rid of rocket boats.
Aaron, guys, where would you fall on that?
I think you could definitely make a case for allowing the team to choose what they take in before the match, maybe.
Ooh.
So if a team wants to take all gunboats, or if a team wants to take a few gunboats, 2 rocket boats, that's I think that being up to the team's discretion might be an idea.
That's really fun. I actually like that idea a lot.
Oh, and on that point, do you think that different numbers of total boats allotted could be a thing? That you can either take, like, let's say, 1 2-gun, or 2 gunboats
Well,
for your roster.
I think it would be very dangerous for a 2-gun to ever be alone on the field. Like that is I think a death sentence for the 2-gun. It was
No,
already tough.
I don't mean taking it into, like, out of spawn. I mean having it at your disposal. That basically you can choose, instead of having a 2-gun, 4 gunboats, 3 rocket boats.
Right. So
You
basically,
could
like maybe
have, like,
give them a spending limit, basically, and be like,
Well,
this
yeah,
costs this
basically,
much, this costs this
basically.
much.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Any
What's
gut responses?
what's
Yeah,
the
no,
two-gun?
I
What's
want
the
to shut
two-gun
down
to
straight
gunboat
away.
ratio?
Okay. Sabo is not a fan. Tell us, Sabo.
No, if depending on who's got the 2-gun, will dictate the battle, in my opinion. If you've got a really good crew and the
Mhm.
other team haven't got a 2-gun, kiss goodbye to your fleet. Like, especially the gunboats. You saw so much damage the KRN one did, and that was close quarters. Now, unchallenged, a 2-gun is very dangerous. If you haven't got something that can match it, there's no point.
I
You
think
I
need
definitely
something to
agree with
match it.
if there's a 2-gun on one side, I think there should be one on the other side.
Yeah.
it should be that way, but it should also be taken account that I think that the 2-gun with the right balancing should have much lower health than normally is attributed to it, just so that it can act as a glass cannon.
So you would
where
want it even lower than we had today, because
I
today
would-
was just was AGS default shipping.
I mean, I think the health it might have had today would be all right, but
Yeah.
I would say that if you plan on using it further, to kind of put away people's fears of it acting as a very powerful tool that can be somewhat overpowered in a lot of different events,
Mhm.
making it act as a glass cannon, having people to think smartly about it and not act and use it so flippantly, would, I think, balance things out a lot better. I'm not so sure about the whole exchange 2-gun to gunboat ratio idea.
Yeah.
Um,
I think having it for the gunboats and rocket boats is very valid, right? I think the ability to say, okay, you get a, let's say we keep the 2-guns, you get a 2-gun for sure in your gunboat spawn area, and then today what we had today was 4 gunboats and 3 rocket boats. So you have 7 small boats. How do you want them? Do you want just 7 gunboats? Do you want the 4 and the 3? Do you want 6 and 2? Right? Or whatever. It's I think that could be by choice. I think most teams would just pick we want all gunboats. I'll be honest, I think almost every team would just pick we want all gunboats. Like, would any of you guys say no, we definitely do want a rocket boat if we had the choice, or would you just choose 100% 7 gunboats?
I think we'd likely pick a rocket boat for Karen.
Just one, maybe one.
Yeah, maybe one.
Depending on crew.
I
it's
think
very
one.
case specific.
Yeah.
But-
Well, and
Exactly.
I think allowing that choice, I think Sabo's objection to the 2-gun being part of that calculus is basically right. I think that would be, again,
Yeah, I
anybody
can
who
see that.
doesn't choose the 2-gun is making the world's biggest mistake, which maybe we should let them make the world's biggest mistake if they want, but I can't imagine anybody would do it. And so maybe we take that decision out of their hands just to not let any ridiculously one-sided battles happen. But I could definitely see, like, does anybody have an objection with choosing how many gunboats v rocket boats you want?
No.
I don't.
No?
I can't
I think
see.
that's a good idea, honestly.
I don't see how that could be an issue. All right, well, great ideas coming here at the end of not really week 18 in the NSL, but technically week 18 in the NSL.
17 and a half.
17 and a half, right. 17.5. The unofficial winners of this unofficial battle were the KRN, who did a great job at maintaining a line formation and yet engaging in some crazy boarding actions. They kept their 2-gun, and that made sort of a difference, but really not all that much because it got taken out still pretty early in the battle. It was a fun battle. I really enjoyed watching it, and I think I've been more excited watching this battle than I have been for most of the battles in the NSL, and that's going to be something that I take away with very strongly. And I hope that you will all encourage all of your crew members to get into our the dockyard chat that we have here in the Discord and put their opinions out on what they liked and what they didn't like. And I hope this has been informative for everybody who's watched about what next season could be, not necessarily is going to be, but some ideas that we're cooking with early on to keep the NSL fun for everybody and exciting for you at home and for the people participating. With that, I am going to eschew my normal thanking 47 people all at once, and I will just say that that thank you for everybody who was instrumental in putting this together, and we know who you all are, and you will be recognized in the credits. And thank you of course to our admirals and all of their crews for just a wonderful battle today. Speaking on behalf of Sabo, Warble, and myself, it has been a absolutely wonderful privilege to continue hosting the NSL for you, and we will see you hopefully next week, in which case we may have a double feature to make up for the one we missed today. So we may have 2 battles in a row, an extra long and extra exciting battle scenario. But Warble, do you have something that you wanted to say before we get off?
No. All good.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be pretty wild. And hopefully AGS, the developers, will fix all these problems in, 2 weeks? They've got 2 weeks because we're breaking for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 weeks to get it all together, and I hope they really do. And otherwise, we will see you then, audience. NSL out.
Bye.